Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my newly level 50'd perfect IV, Shadow Salamence. Salamence is a dragon and flying type Pokemon with the moveset of Dragon Tail, Legacy Outrage, and Fire Blast. So while it hits very hard, unfortunately it has no bait moves whatsoever, which means it's very difficult to use. Nevertheless, I am not going to let that stop me. I paired it up with one of my favorite cores, Heatran and Kyurem, and actually had some positive sets in the 24 to 2500s. So without further ado, let's check out level 50 Shadow Salamence. Hopping to the first match, picking up a tough lead Heatran into Giratina. I'm going to save switch into Kyurem. Opponent is now going to send in Togekiss. Now Togekiss can safely no-shield a Glaciate and get the farm down, but I have the Blizzard. Blizzard will connect, getting the one-shot of the Togekiss, and just like that, I now have switch advantage, which means that Giratina is going to be stuck against the perfect IV Shadow Salamence. In the back, they have Dialga, and I'm firing off my Magma Storm with Heatran. This will deal some solid chip damage onto the Dialga returning fire here. I can tank whatever they throw, even if it is the bigger move. It's going to be the Thunder. We see the simultaneous switch Shadow Salamence into Giratina Origin, and look at the Dragon Tails go. Giratina going for the Ominous Wind. They're hoping for the boost. The boost will not happen. And you know what? This is only an Ominous Wind, but I want to finish the game with Shadow Salamence. We're going to double shield. In comes Dialga. Dialga is getting fully farmed down by the Shadow Salamence, and that's a good game. Moving into the next match, hitting Heatran into Xerneas. Opponent is going to save switch into Giratina Origin, and I have a very nice response available in Kyurem. Kyurem is able to win all even shielding situations here. They fire off the Ominous Wind bait, hoping for the boost or the shield, but they don't get either one. I'm now going to be firing off the Glaciate. Glaciate will be able to get the KO onto the Giratina. My opponent is going to send back in the Xerneas. Xerneas is never really going to be able to farm down here, and I can make that farm down even more difficult by debuffing their attack with a Glaciate. Xerneas continuing to overfarm. I make it to a second Glaciate, and now I put them in a range where a single Magma Storm will be lethal. They're going to have to fire off a charge move here, and honestly, this is fine by me. Close combat will connect. I send in the Heatran in the bag. It's a Groudon. They get absolutely walled by the Shadow Salamence, and they concede the match. We see the other Meta Fairy type on the lead in the next match as I lead Heatran into Zacian. Zacian, of course, is going to farm up quite a bit of energy before they fire off the close combat. Close combat, I do survive, but it does a lot of my HP, so I will commit a shield, throw one more Fire Spin, and I'm at the back-to-back Magma Storms. However, they have the close combat here, and I do lose CMP, so instead of throwing my move, I'm actually just going to go for the double shield and the farm down. I've committed a lot of resources to the Heatran. My opponent is now going to save switch into Dialga, and I'm suddenly very happy that I protected the Heatran, as my opponent is running a team that's extremely strong against my backline. So I'm going to need Heatran to put in a massive amount of work here. I'm firing off the Magma Storm. Magma Storm will connect into the Dialga. I just cannot make the next Magma Storm, as my opponent will need to go for the Draco Meteor to get the KO. Their attack is now harshly debuffed, which means I can send in the Shadow Salamence, these Dragon Tails hitting hard as I get the farm down. That Zacian is extremely low, so they're going to have to send in the final Pokemon here. In the back, they have Lugia. This is bad. I'm going to send in Kyurem and look to farm up energy. Kyurem farming up, opponent goes for the catch onto the Zacian, and they send back in the Lugia. I'm going for the Hail Mary here. They know I have energy on the Salamence. They let it through, and the Blizzard gets the win. We're met with a familiar lead in the next match, Heatran into Giratina Origin. Not a good matchup. I'm going to save switch into Kyurem, and I'm able to bait out my opponent Zacian. The good news is that my Shadow Salamence will not have to see the Zacian, but the bad news is this is going to be a bit tough if I want to flip switch. I'm going to farm all the way up to the Blizzard, and I'm going to bait with the Glaciate here, trying to grab a shield from my opponent. Glaciate bait does not get shielded. That's a bit unfortunate. I'm going to continue to farm with the Kyurem, and I'm going to double shield. I really want to make a play for switch advantage here. I'm continuing to farm up with the Kyurem. I'm at 2 more Glaciates. My opponent, are they going to start committing shields here? I go for a small undercharge, but they will actually end up shielding. Now, I'm just going to full send. I'm just going to try and get rid of the Zacian. My opponent not going to let that happen. They're now double debuffed. they're going to be firing off the Play Rough. Play Rough will not KO the Kyurem, and Kyurem is able to flip switch in the 2 shields versus a Zacian. One of the many reasons I love running Kyurem, but my happiness is short-lived as there's a Xerneas in the back, so I fought so hard for switch, but this is a bit awkward for Heatran when you're down energy. They're going to go for the close combat and dip. So they're going to go for the close combat, they're going to send in that Giratina, and I'm sending in the Shadow Salamence. Shadow Salamence is quite glassy. This Shadow Ball will hit for massive damage. I'm trying to make it to the Outrage, but I cannot get there, and that has sealed my fate. I'm forced to fire off the Stone Edge on the CMP tie to get rid of the Giratina, but I just don't have nearly enough energy left to get rid of the Xerneas, so I am going to concede the match. Moving into the next match, going up against a wonderful fellow streamer, Fine Panic, and I pick up an incredibly good lead. Heatran into Dialga. My opponent safe switches into a Shadow Mewtwo, and I respond with Kyurem. Shadow Mewtwo is extremely scary. This thing has monstrous damage output. I am going to commit a shield here on the Psy Strike. I'm going to farm up and go for the Glaciate here, as I want to lower the Mewtwo's attack right away. Glaciate will connect onto the Mewtwo. Shadow Mewtwo is still going to make a second Psy Strike, but this one is debuffed, so I will be able to hang on and get the farm down. My opponent's going to be sending back in the Dialga. Dialga looking for the farm down, but Kyurem able to make it to the last second Glaciate just before it gets KO'd. And now I'm going to send in the Heatran in the back. It's Kyogre, and Kyogre is walled by the Shadow Salamence. These Dragon Tails doing massive damage, but Salamence is very glassy here. I think an Origin Pulse would KO. So I commit the shield, it's the Surf, and now I'm just looking for a farm down here. I'm not able to get the farm down as they make it to a Surf. Surf into the Salamence, will get the Salamence low. Salamence with a fraction of HP, leaves with a charge move, and I'm going for the Fire Blast here. I'm only getting to 1 charge move anyway. Dialga commits the shield, and Dialga gets the farm down. I'm going to send in Heatran. Heatran farming up energy, making it to the back-to-back Magma Storms, and I think this should do it here. Magma Storm number 1 gets the shield, and Magma Storm number 2 will get the knockout of the Dialga. So I had very favorable alignment throughout, but Panic managed to make that incredibly close. We see a Nightmare lead in the next match, Heatran into Kyogre. I have 2 better responses in the back, so I save switch into Kyurem, and my opponent responds with Dialga. So I did need to bait out the Dialga here, but things are not looking great for me alignment-wise. I go for the Glaciate, my opponent is going to let that through. They have to throw an Iron Head here, because if they do not, I make it to a second Glaciate. Opponent underestimating Kyurem, and they're having to give up a shield. So now I baited out the Dialga, and I have a shield advantage. So hopefully I should be in an okay spot. Although I do make a pretty big mistake, I should have waited the switch timer there, as now my opponent can send in the Kyogre. I'm still switch locked. I take a massive amount of damage. I send in the Salamence. In the back, it's Togekiss. Can I make it to the Fire Blast? No, I cannot. And this is just, oh my goodness. There's nothing I can do here. I can get rid of the Togekiss with a Stone Edge, but the Kyogre is just going to absolutely destroy the Heatran here. So Heatran gets 1 KO, but Kyogre very comfortably farms me down. Heatran sees a way better lead in the next match as I lead into another Dialga. And a lot of the times Dialga leads aren't necessarily a big fan of Heatran in the back. Heatran is a pretty nice core breaker, but of course the thing you have to watch out for is the newly buffed Rhyperior. Double super effective Mud Slaps would absolutely destroy the poor Heatran. Precision in charge move timing there from my opponent as they fire off the move just before I make the Magma Storm, but they end up going for an Iron Head bait. I was never going to shield there as I can take a Draco Meteor, but now I leave with a pretty healthy Heatran and a lot of energy. In comes Landorus, I'm going to pivot into Kyurem, and here I make a crucial mistake. I shouldn't shield this. I live this Stone Edge, but I end up shielding. They bait with the superpower, and then they send in a hard counter in Metagross, and that shield may have just cost me a game from a very advantageous start. I'm going to go for the Glaciate here. I do have an energy head start, and I'm going to be able to get a second debuff off on the Metagross as well. So Metagross's attack now 2 stages debuffed. They now can no longer farm down. These bullet punches are not doing a lot, and they're forced to fire off a charge move. Meteor Mash will pick up the KO. I'm going to send in Heatran. I have the Magma Storm banked, and I'm firing off the Magma Storm. Magma Storm is going to get the KO. I'm sending in Salamence, and I just have to go for the farm down. My opponent is not going to be able to make it to 2 Stone Edges. So they either have to try and land the Stone Edge or bait with the superpower. They bait with the superpower. This is the Stone Edge. It's debuffed. Can I survive? Shadow Salamence able to hang on and take the win. Moving into the next match, going up against one of my moderators, Draco Bound, and we see the Nightmare lead. It's the Mud Slap Rhyperior into Heatran. I'm going to save switch into Kyurem, and my opponent is going to respond with Xerneas. Xerneas will fire off the charge move here before I'm able to make it to the Blizzard, and Moonblast will grab a shield. I'm farming up here. I built up to the Blizzard, and I'm baiting with the Glaciate, hoping for a shield from my opponent, and I do get the shield. That's big. Unfortunately, I cannot make a Blizzard before they make their next charge move, so I'm forced to settle for the Glaciate. Glaciate, at the very least, does mean that they're now 2 stages debuffed, and they overfarm, allowing me to make it to a 3rd Glaciate. My opponent is now 3 stages debuffed on this Xerneas. Xerneas firing off the charge move here. Xerneas goes for the close combat. That's not going to be enough to KO. Aggressive switch into Dragonite. And this is looking extremely tough to win. I'm sending in Heatran. Heatran farming up energy. The Dragonite massively overfarming, and I'm firing off the Stone Edge here. Stone Edge does not KO, but it does get them low. I wait a turn, switch into the Salamence. Did I catch the superpower? Please tell me this is the superpower, and it is. We catch the superpower, and that is absolutely massive. In comes the Rhyperior, though, and Rhyperior has an energy head start. They're already at a Breaking Swipe, so I'm going to be committing a shield. They're now 4 away, so I'm going to throw 4 Dragon Tails. I'm going to go for the Outrage on the CMP tie here, but my opponent is just going to shield this. They know they have double super effective Mud Slaps that are about to tear my poor Heatran to shreds. Breaking Swipe will get the KO. I need to make it to the Stone Edge, and look at the Mud Slaps, and I just run out of HP as they will make the Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe KOs the Heatran, and that's a good game. We see a great lead in the next match. Heatran into yet another Dialga. People love leading their Dialgas, and Heatran just says no to those Dialga leads. I'm farming up, and I'm firing off the Magma Storm just before they're able to make it to the Draco Meteor. Magma Storm will be no-shielded by the Dialga. Dialga ends up firing off their charge move on alignment there, giving me an entire Fire Spin for free. They go for the Draco Meteor. They save switch into Giratina Origin, and Giratina Origin save switches are just getting crushed game after game by Kyurem. Shadow Ball will connect. I'm looking to massively overfarm with the Kyurem here, and I'm going to go for the Glaciate. Glaciate will be lethal into the Giratina here. Giratina not going to commit a shield, and they get KO'd. In comes the Dialga. I cannot make the Glaciate. I'm going to send in Heatran and just go for the Magma Storm. Magma Storm will get the KO here onto the Dialga. Let's see what they have in the back. They have Mewtwo, and this is really bad. Psystrike does 75% to a Salamence. I'm farming up, but my opponent throws on slightly suboptimal timing. They go for the Psystrike. I commit the shield. I'm looking to farm down. Opponent throws on alignment. Wait, I might actually win this. Opponent gave an entire Dragon Tail for free, and Salamence gets the full farm down, and I don't have to risk a Psystrike knocking me out. Hopping into the final match, and I see the Dream lead Heatran into Togekiss. My opponent save switches into a Mud Slap Rhyperior. Oh, that is so bad. And I'm now going to send in Shadow Salamence. I can tank 1 Breaking Swipe, but I am going to be committing an early shield here, as I do want to try and keep the Salamence healthy. I'm farming up with the Salamence. They're making it to a 2nd Breaking Swipe, and honestly what I should have done was fire off the Outrage on the CMP tie there. I'm now going to look to overfarm up to 100 energy and go for the Outrage. But my opponent, if they want to, can commit the shield and force the final shield back. I don't really want to give up switch, so I am going to be shielding the Salamence, hoping that I can leave with the Fire Blast, but I'm just short of the Fire Blast. They send in the Togekiss. Even if it was debuffed, I really wanted to land it. In the back, my opponent is running Giratina Altered. I would have much rather seen Origin here, as Origin is a lot glassier. And Altered can hit for super effective damage with the Dragon Claw. I'm going to farm up and go for the Glaciate on the CMP tie, anticipating that my opponent is going to go for their energy as soon as they get it. Glaciate gets no shielded. That's a bit of a surprise. My opponent trusting in the Togekiss to secure the win with an Aura Sphere. I'm not going to get the farm down. They're going to be able to get the knockout here, but this just means I get extra energy on my Heatran. So Heatran is going to get the Fire Spin farm down, and I have a lot of energy. They're going to send back in the Togekiss. I'm farming up, and here I decide to go for the triple Magma Storm. I could have potentially gone for the double Stone Edge, but I end up going the triple Magma Storm route. So I'm farming up. I'm going for another Magma Storm. This will be grabbing the shield, and after one more Fire Spin, this should be Magma Storm range, and it looks like that may have been a CMP tie here. This should be Magma Storm range, though, and Heatran will secure the win over the Togekiss. All in all, I had an absolute blast getting to run Shadow Salamence. I'd run it before at level 40 when level 40 Master League was a thing, but thanks to some bag-on spawns, I believe it was during Go Fest, I was finally able to get it to level 50. Shadow Salamence is a great contender for a future move update. It hits like an absolute truck, but its issue is just a lack of a bait move. So if it got a bait move in the future, this could be a really fun Pokemon to use in the Master League. For the time being, Dragonite and Rayquaza are definitely the preferred options. But, as we've seen before with a mon like Rhyperior, all it takes is one move update to take a Pokemon from something that isn't really used to a Pokemon that could have some serious play. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.